Have you ever thought about being a politician before? Or even wondered what it was like to be a part of the decision making process in your country's governance? Well, wonder no longer, assuming you're American. Sorry to my overseas friends. Well, in this game, the political process, you can experience it, and it is a lot more than just a game. It's a beyond mind blowing experience in strategy and governance. This game was released in 2019 but still receives major updates, and it puts you in the shoes of a politician that you make. Be it as a school board member, mayor, congressperson, or hey, maybe even someday president. Unlike other games, this isn't really about quick decisions or flashy graphics because the graphics are really basic. It's about the grind and the strategy and the complexities of democracy in America. This is a lot more than just an election simulator like other political based games like the Political Machine Game series. It's more of an in depth look at what it's really like working in the halls of power. So, when you first start the game, you will be prompted to create a character, and after deciding what they look like and what political party they align with, whether that be Republican, Democrat, or even Independent, which is like playing on ultra hard mode. Sorry, third party people out there. There is no Green or Libertarian Party option, but to be fair, maybe work on winning an election sometimes and then maybe they'll add it. So, after deciding what party you're a part of, you can finally go to your policy positions, which is a bit of a questionnaire that it has you fill out. And it's really in depth and honestly a lot like filling out a political compass quiz without all the bullshit questions like, do you agree with the Karl Marx quote with no context? You do? Must be more left wing. This actually only asks you about your opinion on the current political issues facing America. So, whether it's more basic, big ticket items like do you support raising the minimum wage? Should the federal budget be cut? To more niche culture war issues like should trans people be allowed to serve in the military? It asks you all of that, and it is a pretty long questionnaire. There are some presets you can select, but either way, no matter what you pick, it will generate a label for you based on your physical and social policies. So the labels it can give you for both are either liberal, conservative, moderate, or libertarian. So I won't be going too in-depth on what those actually mean because I try to remain somewhat impartial when I bring up politics on this channel. I obviously have a stance, and I actually even just worked on a Senate campaign in my state, but it does no good to come out and just say what I believe in. I don't hide it very well. I'm sure if you watch some of my other more politically charged videos, you can figure it out. But after you finish the character creation, you can decide where you want your character to live. It's very in depth. You can pick any state, and then you actually pick the county within that state that you're a part of, and then you can decide what school district you want to be a part of, what congressional district. A lot of customization, and now you're officially a burgeoning politician. Now, there are a couple of stats to keep track of, like your name recognition, which is very important when you start out and when you try to move up to bigger nationwide races like the presidency. The next stat is political points, which represents your clout within the party that you chose. So you get more when you sort of toe the party line, and that allows you to influence other politicians in your party. Or are you more of a maverick who doesn't really care what the party position is? You just have your own opinions on the matter. Political points also help you win leadership votes when you're in office. Things like running for the House, majority or minority leader, Speaker of the House, things of that nature. And then finally, there is your approval rating, which is decided by your voting history and the policies you support. But enough of the housekeeping. How do you actually run the race? Well, it depends on what race you're running for. Usually at the start, unless you want to take a more behind the scenes approach and become a party chair for campaign committees, that's where you run a whole campaign for a whole big slate of candidates, like running the whole campaign for all of the Senate elections going on in America, or even the presidential. You'll usually start running in the small, low-scale elections like a school board or city council race. So after you apply to run, you'll now be in a primary against other opponents in your party. If you're unfamiliar, a primary is where both parties run a bunch of candidates against each other, and the people within their party get to vote on who they want to actually be the main candidate. So sometimes you might get lucky and not have any primary opponents, but this rarely happens unless you're already the incumbent, which means you already hold the seat you're running for. But now that you're running, how do you actually win in the primary and general elections? For these more low-stake local elections when you're starting out, it is a lot like real life. It is all about knocking on doors and getting your name out there. You can also choose to fundraise a little bit and use your small, minuscule budget on small ad campaigns, which definitely help out a lot when you only have so many people to convince. But for the sake of brevity, let's assume you win. What can you do now? You can now propose and vote on laws, and it is beyond in-depth. You can make a bill package where you put multiple different things in the same bill, like legalizing weed and decreasing taxes, or creating a flat tax while also deciding to grant amnesty to immigrants. You can pack as much stuff as you want in there. And it can really help a lot when you're trying to get both parties to support it, so you can kind of have some give and take, doing things that both parties will support, ultimately allowing the things that you want to pass. Now, assume you propose a bill. Depending on what seat you hold, that will determine what happens to it next. At the local level, it goes straight to vote by other school board or city council members. But once you're in the big leagues, like your state assembly or the halls of Congress, it goes to a related committee. Which, if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, I don't entirely blame you. Civics class in high school could be a bit of a drag. But there are committees where all prospective bills will either go to live or die. The first step is to get the committee chair to agree to let it have a hearing. So let's say you wanted to grant amnesty to so many illegal aliens in the country, or undocumented migrants, whatever term you prefer. That will go to the Homeland Security Committee, where the chair, or the person in charge of it, can just decide to say, no, we're not even going to vote on it, I don't like it. And then bam, your bill is dead. Restart, pass go, do not collect $200. But if they say yes, then the committee votes on it. If they vote yes, it'll then go to the House or Senate to be voted on. But then if the committee votes no, it's dead again. So I know this is a lot of information, especially if you're not American and you've never even heard of how our system works. But I recommend watching the Schoolhouse Rock video, I'm Just a Bill. It's pretty catchy and it really explains the whole process really well. So as you can see from what I've said, this game is all about realism. When you want to make changes like decrease the unemployment rate or increase the rate of people going to college, there isn't just a button that you press to get it done, like Saints Row the Third when you can decide to end world hunger or cure cancer. You actually have to pass laws, and then each law works with each other to affect America's overall situation. Going along with the realism aspect is how every voter has an opinion on every single policy decision you support. If you want to run a red state like Texas and you're a Democrat, you need to tailor your message and look over demographic data to make sure that what you're supporting isn't too radical, to make sure that you don't lose. You need to be willing to compromise to get the bills that you want passed and to be able to win elections. And if you don't want to compromise, you're better off spawning in a strong red or blue state. And then once you get into the halls of power, you have to wait till your party has a majority. This game really has you think like a politician, especially when it comes to certain policy decisions that are just broadly unpopular with the American voters. So think of big red lines in the sand, like wanting to cut or get rid of Social Security, or for the other side, assume you want to ban all guns. These are just so unpopular that you will never be able to win the presidency or even tight state races where it matters. But, like all good politicians, you can just lie, and the only hit you take is your approval ratings if those things pass, which matters a lot less once you already win a seat. So, just like in real life, as our politicians have discovered, a great strategy is just lie when you campaign and then do what you really want once you're in office. This game simulates elections really well because you can do so much to actually influence the elections. It's a lot more than just your opinion versus their opinion and how popular it is. You can do things like open volunteer centers where your loyal fans will help spread the message, either by asking for fundraising, passing out signs, knocking on doors. You can run ads that promote your policies or attack your opponent's policies. You can even do more superfluous things like attacking their traits that they have or their lack of experience. There's even debates where you can decide your debate strategy. Do you want to be like our current president and just attack everyone on stage, or do you want to talk about finding common ground? It's all up to you, and it all affects how the electorate feels at large about you. If you've ever felt appalled to politics or just want to experience just even a modicum of what it's like, I really think this game would be a perfect match for you. Much like real life, this game isn't really flashy, and it rewards more long-term thinking and strategies. I mean, if you have certain unpopular positions that you just can't get your party to agree with, and especially not the opposition party, then you can endorse candidates who are running for office, but only agree to endorse them on certain conditions, like agreeing with you on certain things or joining the caucus you're a part of. There is a lot to do. You can vote and decide on the federal and state budget. Almost everything in game is simulated just like real life. Almost everything you can do in real life, you can do in the game. However, unlike other more political-minded games, like Suzerain, for example, one of my favorites, there is no storyline, there is no story, there is no dialogue between characters, really. It's all up to you how you want to roleplay in your head. I do that way too much in this game. But yeah, there really is no story to speak of. Now, there are a couple of complaints I have, because this game is obviously not perfect, just like every other game. My chief complaint is the fact that foreign relations do not matter at all. I wish there was options for you being against or for NATO, which obviously in the real world would affect how people want to vote for you and would also cause real world friction with our allies. But in game, there is literally nothing when it comes to foreign policy. You can't support sanctions or embargoes against other countries. There is no decision to pull troops out of countries or insert them into countries. Which really sucks, because nowadays a lot of Americans care about what a candidate's foreign policy opinions are. Just look at how Trump ran on not wanting to give any more aid to Ukraine. And that resonated with a lot of people because they see it as another endless war that we are now supporting and giving money to. Or how certain people on the Democratic ticket were saying that they weren't going to support any more aid to Israel because they're doing a genocide in Palestine. Foreign policy matters a lot, especially nowadays. Or even back in 2008, Obama ran on pulling troops out of Afghanistan and being a pro-peace president. There is none of that in game, even though it's a pretty important part of running for office. Now, I don't entirely blame the developers, because how do you even model that with the same level of depth they already have for the rest of the game? But I really wish it was relevant even a little bit. It's a pretty important part of the political process, if I can say. But this game is beyond great. I mean, I just remember so many parts from it when I play. I still remember the first time I won the presidency. And it's just so great having the whole party under your control. Whatever bill you support or oppose, the party falls in line, which is really great if you play as more of a fringe character or a bit more on like the farther extreme sides of the parties, like a Bernie Sanders or Ron Paul type. No longer will your own party obstruct you from enacting the change you want see, but the roleplay opportunities in this game are endless and unimaginable. There's even the option to marry somebody and have kids and continue on your legacy that way and continue to play as your kids. Because although after you win the presidency in game, it's not like you actually have to retire, but that is basically what every president has ever done, except for shout out Grover Cleveland. He became a Supreme Court justice after his presidential run. But there's a lot of roleplay opportunities. They even added little controversies in game. that occur. So let's say there'll be a little scenario like another Congress member gets found out saying racial slurs on an old podcast, and you can decide how you want to react to that, whether you want to stick up for him and say that he's changed, or you can decide to just completely condemn him and suggest that he resign. This game is just incredible, and I really recommend it to anyone who loves strategy or politics games. This game just scratches an itch that no other political simulator has ever really even been close to scratching for me. And even then, I wish it was more in depth, if that was even possible in video game form. I'm just a real big fan of politics, and if you are too, I think you'll really enjoy this one. That's all I have. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support on the past, really couple videos I've had. It's really been great actually getting views on something, which hopefully this isn't ironic if you're watching this video, but we'll see. I'll definitely be trying to put out a couple more videos soon. I have a lot more free time now that the election's over. And I'll actually be graduating from college here pretty soon. So yeah, a lot of exciting things going on in my life. But that's all I got. And remember, Jesus loves you.